You go.
Okay, so welcome to my studio now. So good. How nice is this?
So good.
Oh, we have been wanting to do something like this for
So long.
and I cannot believe we're actually sitting in this space,
I know.
able to even do something that we're passionate about
Yeah.
and have the time to do something like
Yes.
this, and the team that we have
So good.
behind these cameras
So good.
is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk about
Me?
you, and one part that was so important in your journey so far.
Yeah.
So let's start with how you and Eton met.
Yeah. So 12 years now, which is
12
crazy.
years!
I know.
Oh my gosh.
Which is
that's a
like
lot.
I think we're 17 years old. Teens. Lovebirds. So we met first night in town.
Yeah.
You know, good old days.
Town.
He just wooed me. I loved everything about him. His humour.
Yeah. What was he wearing?
Oh,
Tell me what he was wearing.
Okay, so Ralph Lauren polo,
Oh, yeah.
you know, good old preppy boy. And he was just handsome.
Oh.
And I don't think we ever stopped talking
Wow.
since that night. And yeah, life was good.
Wow.
We
Amazing.
were together 4 years, and then he proposed.
You
And
proposed.
we got married.
You got married.
Yes.
So 4 years of dating, hanging out.
Yeah.
How old were you when you got
So we met when we were
married?
17 and married at 21. So young.
Wow.
Yeah.
When it comes to marriage, whenever someone says they're married, I always am so intrigued, even with my marriage. They say that a good marriage comes with great communication.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah. I think, for me, communication is vital for a good marriage, and we know that. For Ets and I, you know, I think at the beginning it wasn't a massive priority, and I don't know, I think maybe naivety, young.
Yeah, maybe you didn't. Did you know the importance?
I don't think we did, and looking back, I don't think we did. And we're quite independent people, so we live life quite independently, and I think that's one of probably our biggest downfalls.
Yeah.
And we almost became passing ships. You know, we got married at 21. It was about a year into marriage. We got consumed by life. Our priorities weren't in order. And communication, I don't think, was there like it should have been.
Yeah.
And image became quite massive for us. We were both quite obsessed with how we looked, and we just didn't refocus together. And
look wise in terms of the gym, like
image was massive. We were consumed by that. We didn't really spend a lot of time together. Gym became quite massive.
You had separate gyms?
Separate gyms, which obviously was our biggest, you know, downfall in that. And we just weren't on the same team. And unfortunately, one thing led to another, and I ended up having an affair in my marriage. Which is so hard to say, you know.
Have you said it out loud?
I had, like, for me,
to people.
No, and definitely, I think for me, I've always been really clear from the get-go that it was not something I wanted to shy away from or hide away from. Like, I knew that I had to be. That was me, and that was our journey, and that was our story.
Yeah.
And so I have opened up, definitely not like this. So this will be the first time that a lot of people are going to hear this. So I had an affair on Eden, and you know, it's really hard to say. 6 years on, you know, a lot has happened between then and now. But it was,
How did you feel? Did you tell him, or did he find out?
He found out, and it was a really devastating time.
What was that one emotion that happened?
Oh, I just thought my life was over. I honestly, genuinely thought, like, the scum of the earth.
Yeah.
I felt like there was just no way we were ever going to get past that. It was a really tough time. I absolutely, at the end of the day, that is, I guess, one of the biggest betrayals you can do. you know, and I absolutely shattered his heart, and I broke my own in the process. And it was a really tough space to be in. You know, you're at the bottom. Like, in a marriage, when something like that happens, like, you're literally having to rebuild from the beginning. If not, you're in negative steps, because you're really having to strive to get it back. And yeah, it was just a really hard time. We both were just broken in our own ways. You know, for him, it was his way of grieving some betrayal like that, and for me, it was just feeling like I wasn't worthy. There was no way I was gonna recover from that.
When something like that happens to us, we sometimes think, actually, is this happening to me? Like, you know what you were doing, but
no,
you don't. Did you know the consequence of that?
No, and I think that's it, is like, you get so caught up in it all that you actually forget. Like, I can't, and I couldn't even connect the person I was to what I was doing. Like, there's just, you're just so far gone. And that's why I think now, you know, you realise, and I think as you get old, you realise how easy it is for stuff like this to happen. And like anything, and it can be anything, but it's like lies and betrayal and things, you know, you just get caught up in it. And before you know it, you're right in the middle of it, and you're like, how on earth have I even gotten to this point? Like,
and almost like, when that happens, how do you get out of something like that? So taking that, so Ayrton's found out that you've had an affair. You're feeling, like you said, scum of the earth, just like, there's not one part of you that's trying to be defensive. You've just got caught out. This is not good. And what was that point? That was that point for you. What got you out of there? What took you to the next level?
For me, like, I never second guessed wanting to fight for my marriage. That wasn't a question for me. Like, as soon as Ayrton found out, I was wanting to do everything I could to save our marriage. And so that wasn't a question for me. I guess a pivot point, or where I felt like things needed to shift, probably was a couple of years down the track. And, you know, that was hard. Like, the first couple of years were tough. Like, we were counselling everything, you name it. And I think that's important when you're going through something like that, is making sure you're doing the right things to get through. But so it was a couple of years down the track where I was just trying to survive, really. I was just trying to push through, do everything I could. And I had to come to a point where I really had to forgive myself, and I had to get to a point where I was going to let go of the shame and know that I was worthy, and that I needed to push forward. And I think Ayrton, on the same respect, you know, we went to a counselling session, and we were sitting there, and, you know, they just turned to him and said, look, you've made the decision to stay. You've really got to now move forward. You can't keep pulling Emma through the mud. Like, I think that's hard. And it's, of course, when you're in that situation of, you know, that being done to you, of course, you're going to have that whole thing of feeling like you constantly, it's just constantly coming up. He probably
gets paranoid as well.
Totally.
He's like, oh my gosh, where are you? What are you doing?
100%. And I think, and it came to a point where he had to go, okay, we're going to move forward. And that's not saying that this is never going to come up again. I'm not naive to that. I know that this will be something we'll deal with for the rest of our lives.
You've been always honest around that.
Yeah, and I know that. But I think it just we had to move forward together. I had to forgive myself and let go. And then he also had to go, okay, we're in this together. It is the past. We're going to leave it there and let's move forward. And so that for me was a massive pivot point where, it was time to...
Do you know one thing I love so much about your journey is, and that I feel like it was in that point where I kind of came into the mix a little bit. But you were so, like you said, you wanted to fight for it from the start. There's not one time that you said you tried to get defensive and add a but I did this because of this. There's not one time that you said that. You were so sorry and so sure and willing to take on all the load. And I mean, I guess it's two people in two different spaces, leads to things like that, and it's not taking away the heaviness of what went
absolutely.
on. But you not once wanted half of the blame to be cut.
Yeah.
You were wanting to do everything, and I think, but for a point there, you started to then compromise so much of yourself.
Yeah.
You ended up being almost a shell version of you.
Yeah.
And there needed to be a release that happened.
Yeah.
When you look back, what do you think God was working on in that release time of that moment where you realise, okay, there needs to be another shift? I mean, a couple of years of being sorry and all those.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's amazing how God works, and I think looking back, you know, I definitely knew right at the get-go God was in that. Like, he had to be for us. Like, that was that was just a massive part for us to be able to push through.
Yeah.
But for me, I felt like, and that's how, you know, and I think it's the beauty of our friendship, we met through that season, and I just remember coming onto your doorstep, an absolute mess. Like, you honestly, and your mum, your poor mum, is just like...
My mum's like, who's this new friend of yours? Like, she reminds me of crying. No.
Oh, I honestly felt like that our whole... And, you know, we met at a time where I was like, at my bottom. Like, I have an amazing family around me. I had amazing support. But I think it was just because it was, you know, I met you, we didn't know each other, and you'd kind of come in that time. It was
so God ordained.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I felt like, you know, you guys were that vessel through that time, and that God was speaking to me through you guys, and you saw something in me I couldn't see at the time, and I really felt like there was so much wisdom and truth that was spoken through you guys, and I felt like someone was in, and I know I had people in my corner, I know even Edith, all of them, but I think it was just fresh perspective, and you came in and you just breathed so much life into me. Your mum was incredible, and that's why I adore her, because I just think I just remember lying there sitting on your bed, and just the wisdom that you guys gave me, and it helped me push me through. And I'm thankful for that, and I'm thankful for that friendship, and that's, I feel like, how God was speaking to me through that time, and that was that whole season of feeling like I was worthy enough to push through. So that would have been definitely, and through that.
Now, coming like right past that, you guys have been on marriage weekends. You've really learned what communication really means. I mean, we say that communication is great and leads to a great marriage, but sometimes I feel like we don't even know what that means. Like, what type of communication? It's not just sitting, it's intentional time. And that takes time to learn those things and seek wisdom and seek knowledge and let people speak over your marriage and learn, and that's what you guys have done. It has not been easy. You guys chose to make your marriage work, but it wasn't just a flick of the switch, right?
No way.
No way. So how many years now has it been?
It's been 6 years, and I really, the first, you know, and that's the key for something like this. And I think in any marriage, you know, there's amazing resources out there. Like, there are amazing things you can be doing. And I think, you know, we've gone, every year we commit to going to a marriage weekend. It's through Family Life. It's called the Weekend to Remember, and I think everyone should do it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
And it's, you know, everyone says, oh, you know, you haven't gone through anything, like, well, we haven't gone through anything, we don't need that. But it's like, we need to walk in wisdom. Like, we need to be preparing ourselves. And so we did everything. We were just like,
give
it to it.
You actually did.
We did. We're like, give it to us, we'll do it. And counselling for years, everything. We got connected. That's how we came to church. You obviously reached out to us, and we came along and we got invested, and we were just willing to do everything, anything. I think it's important. I think we can't be naive in that, and it's keeping the communication open and striving and being real.
And it helped because both of you wanted to continue.
And I think that's the thing. I think I'm aware that with these situations, and this is a sensitive topic, and I know I'm aware of that, and I know it's not a cookie cutter response, because I know not everyone's journeys kind of work out this way, and I do believe that it does need two people who want to fight. I think if you've got just one person and the other not, that's tough, and that's a tough road. I think it's definitely, it's difficult, but I do think it takes two. It's got to take two people to be like, we want this.
Yeah.
But it's possible.
And I've seen that it's possible because I look at you guys now and
Yeah.
you've always been honest with me in the sense of, oh, it's always going to come up again. And you know, like it happened from such a lust thing. Yeah. And you're not naive to the thing that we will still feel that lust towards like, and maybe this is bold for me to say, but I think going through life, and someone once said, you're not always just going to be attracted to the person that you're with. No. Like, this is, we watch movies, we listen to songs, lust overtakes. Yeah. We always think the grass is greener on the other side. 100%. And we have to work and protect our marriage. Yeah, we do. And yes, think those thoughts, but let's just come back and pull yourself in line. Yeah. So if you got somebody to hear one thing out of your story, I think, what would it be? Yeah, and I think you've just nailed it on the head with that. I think my biggest thing is that we need to be protecting our relationships and our marriages. I think that is so important. Yeah. And I think, as you said, we live in an age now where it's now, you know, new, let's just, it's too hard, give up, trade in, let's go for an upgrade. Yes. And that is just the culture we're in. Yeah. You know, it's the norm. And it's easy enough to do that now. It's not, you know, it's not shameful or whatever. You can just kind of get on with it. And I think that's sad. I think that we give up way too easy and we're not willing to fight. And I think we really need to kind of reset and go, okay, you've fallen in love. Like, that's what I come back to, and that's what I always reminded myself in that journey, is taking myself back to that moment I said I do. And I was absolutely infatuated and in love with this guy. And it's reminding ourselves of those points and going, you know, we need to kind of push forward, and I think do everything we can to protect relationships and marriages. And I think for me that's my biggest advice. And then I think anyone that's walked this journey, it's knowing that you aren't defined by your mistakes, and that you're worthy of forgiveness, and that you can move past that. And you know, for me it was that whole thing, once a cheater always a cheater, and that was something I navigated massively when it happened, because you know, we lost a lot of people through that season. We did. And that was really hard. That was a hard thing for me, and that's why it took me so long to forgive myself, because I held on to that. I am a people pleaser, so I hated the fact that, you know, people were judging me and couldn't see me past that and past my mistake. And that was a really tough time. But I had to push past it, and I had to know my worth and my truth and go, that isn't my truth. You know, once a cheater, always a cheater is not what I'm going to stand by. And I'm going to push past that and prove that to myself and to Eden. And that's what I've done. So protection. Yeah, protection. And that is the best thing. Best thing. Because, oh my goodness. Best thing. Okay, and one last thing that we thought, me and you chatted last night, and we thought it'd be real awesome to be able to look into the camera and pick one person that you maybe haven't been able to thank or want to honour, because we are about community. Yeah. 100%. And we think that it takes community it's not just us to get through journeys. So who is one person that you'd like to thank? Yeah, so I thought about this, and obviously for Ets and I, we had a massive community around us. Yeah. We had so many people in our corner fighting for us. But I think one couple that came to mind for me would have been Nikki and Andy Bray. Yeah. Unfortunately, Andy passed away a couple of years ago. It was just not long after Malo was born. We actually dedicated Malo's middle name, which is Anaru, Andrew and Māori, for Andy, because he is just the most phenomenal man in the world. He is amazing. Amazing. But I guess Nikki, for me, and I'm going to get so emotional now, I was holding it together, but I am just so thankful for you and the woman that you are. You were so dedicated to Ets and I and to our marriage to push through, and I remember coming to your doorstep probably every week. Both of us, just these broken young people, not knowing where we were going, and I remember just you and Andy being beside us and in our corner, and I'm so thankful for that. I'm inspired by the woman that you are. You
live your life so selflessly. You are so courageous with your faith, and you just put yourself aside to serve others, and I just think you're an incredible woman, and I love you and I appreciate you, and I want to honour you today for the massive impact that you've had on our life, and I love you.